My name is Matthew Gantner. I'm a brokerage manager here at Penny Insurance. And today we're going to talk about From Term to Triumph, looking specifically at Protection IUL and how to write bigger and longer lasting business. Basically, how to transfer those term sales into a Protection IUL sale to give benefit to the client, as well as having just an overall larger premium, for that sale. So we'll have this slide at the end as well. If you're not currently working with a broker manager here at Penny, feel free to reach out to me after the presentation. Happy to talk through anything more in depth. Myself or any of the other brokerage managers are able to assist on any questions you may have. A little bit about Penny. We're really focused on agencies and independent agents. Over 50 years of business, and really are doing a digital first. Even though we service clients and agencies nationwide, we really have that more boutique feel and really spend time, with our agents and agencies to learn what they're doing and how to best, assist them. And these training videos are part of that commitment to our agents and agencies to, just give more information out there on, different concepts and products and how we can, help the agents grow their business. So quickly go over what you'll learn. We'll just note that this was kind of in the invite, but we'll cover each of these topics in a little more depth. So to kind of get into the meat of the presentation, we're going to ask just protection. So when you're talking to a client and they're saying, hey, I'm just looking for just a protection product, they're looking to say, oh, I need $500,000 to cover my mortgage. Great. That's something that, there definitely is a need for that client. Let's now talk through what that actually means for them. And one of the things that I would like to focus on is, when they're getting this type of insurance, they've already purchased a house, or that's the most common kind of scenarios that, someone looking for this to cover the fact that they're, trying to protect their mortgage, whether it's a new mortgage, an outstanding mortgage, really fund for their future. That's the reason for a protection-based sale, is to have that nest egg for them if something were to happen during their, income years. But what I want to point out is this buy versus rent mentality. When we're talking about insurance, especially term insurance, you're just renting insurance. When you're buying a permanent IUL, you're really buying that IUL. And what you want to focus with the clients is changing that mentality of, oh, I just need this for the short term, into, no, this is actually an investment for your long term. And, just like buying a house, there are other benefits to it, in that home ownership. You get equity in your home. You have the means to kind of use it in different ways later. And it's not that, once you're done paying rent, you're out everything. With a home, there's some ownership there. And that's something that you want to focus on in the sale as well. So your typical client for this type of product is going to be, 35-year-old male. They're looking for $500,000 of coverage. They want protection from dying too soon. Once again, they're in their, prime income generating years. They want to, continually have that income coming in. But what happens if they weren't to come home tomorrow? They want to be able to pay off all their bills, make sure that the mortgage is paid off, that everything's all set, so they're not leaving that financial burden on any beneficiaries. Now, some other things to this, you notice they're a little smaller than that top line. And the reason for this is that for these types of sales, that protection is that main focus of the sale. But because we've now transitioned to a permanent product, an IUL, they're going to have some other things that come along with it. That value of living too long. Great. You pay off your house, you're done your work, you start to retire. This product is going to evolve with you as you move out through your life. These products and these next two, these riders are available with most carriers. If you get sick along the way, your chronic illness rider, your terminal illness rider, an ability for having the policy to pay you when those catastrophic events happen, and yet you're still living. And then a lot of these types of protection-based products have refund options available. Retirement premium feature, normally 15, 20, 25 years in those types of bucket ranges. So if the client does change their mind down the road, great. They've basically paid for insurance and gotten all the proceeds back, and they're not out any money because even if they change their mind on what they want to do in their financial goals, they've had the protection and they've gotten that return of premium in those select years. So this is just about changing that conversation from just being about protection to what else can we add to it to make it a more valuable thing. And so we're going to change scope here a little bit and talk about car needs and value in a car. I'm going to assume everyone on here drives. I know some people are from major cities and there's public transit, but for most Americans, everyone's going to need a car to drive. Main need for a car is going to be transportation, but you're also going to be looking at safety and driver assistance, technology, performance and economy, comfort and convenience. There are a lot of things that go into buying a car that kind of goes to the value. But if we were looking just at the transportation needs, guess what? We'd all own Toyota Corollas. And there's nothing wrong with the Toyota Corolla, but that's one of those things where it checks all these boxes. But really, is that what you drive? Is that what your clients are driving? Normally, they're going to have some other type of vehicle because they need something more and they assign a value to that something more. If you talk about just the transportation, and if you're going back to the life insurance, if you talk about just the protection of like, oh, all you need is protection, great, you have a term sale. But if you look at these types of things and kind of drive a little deeper, you're going to find that a lot of people are going to get a truck, a luxury car, maybe an SUV. They're going to put a value to the things that these do. Maybe they have a construction company or they want to throw surfboards in the back of their truck. They have a large family that they, need an SUV to, move everyone around. Or maybe they just like the features in a nice car. There's a value to that they're paying above and beyond just providing basic transportation, that your clients understand that there is a cost to this value. And it's up to us as insurance agents to assign that value correctly to them so that they understand what this value is and what they're paying for, with this product. And the reason for that is, as I said before, 35-year-old male wants protection, from dying too soon. He has, $50,000. If you don't ask any more questions, great. You sold the 30-year term for about $480 to $520 annual premium. Fine sale. Is that really what we're looking for? Is there more that we can do for this client? Now, I will say that sometimes due to budgetary concerns, that is the client's budget limit. But if you can assign value to what it is that you're presenting, you'll find that a lot of clients have a little more to be able to put in once they realize what they're going to get from that. So how do we create this value? First off, ask, why did you purchase versus rent? They've already, in a lot of these circumstances, made a decision to invest in, a house versus renting. Why did they do that? What type of things triggered them to say, I want to do this. I want to spend a little more on a mortgage, having to maybe fix a roof in some years, having to do all the repairs myself, all the things that come with owning a home versus just renting. What is it that made them, make this decision? Use those facts on presenting the life insurance. Next, ask them, what type of work do you want to do when you're at 80 years old? It's going to throw a lot of people off. They're going to be like, well, I don't want to work at 80. Well, great. Let me show you how this life insurance that we're presenting to you allows you to, if needed, provide some income in the future, a little nest egg, so that the premiums you're paying for insurance don't necessarily all go to waste. Is this the main thing that's going to help them retire when they reach retirement age? No, but the money that they're putting in will help with that. But you have to frame it in such a way that they understand that this is the added value that they're getting. Right back to that car analogy. Why did you choose the car you own? Unless they have the Toyota Camry in their yard, they're going to have some type of reason for what it is that they chose to drive. Assign those same types of reasoning to the insurance product. Dig a little deeper to find out, okay, why do you value this? What is it about this that you value? You know, ask those follow-up questions, the second, third, get to the root of the matter on what it is that they're looking for in this insurance to be able to understand why they're purchasing this, Protection IUL versus just buying the term insurance, and not having to worry about it. Ask them about their family. Do they plan to have a family? Do they currently have a family? Ask them about, well, okay, great. You plan on have kids. Have you thought about what you're going to do come college time? Permanent IUL. It's going to have some cash value there if you need to pay for school. Going to have some value there if you need to put a down payment on a business. Maybe you're going to take some money out to buy them their first car. Phrase it in ways and ask the questions that make them see the value in is what they're doing. And then lastly, this is insurance. You want to ask them, do you think you'll be healthy in 30 years? No one knows the answer to that. And assuming that they're in good health now, because once again, we're looking at, a 35-year-old in this scenario, they get a term insurance for 30 years. Even if they only carry that to 20 years, and then they decide, you know what, now I want to move to a more permanent product, great. Now they're being underwritten as a 55-year-old. Some terms will have some conversions. That's fine as well. But what I want to really focus on is that the client's health is not a given. This goes back to those chronic illness and terminal illness riders that they're going to get on that permanent insurance that's going to be able to be like, hey, you know what? There is a need for that in the future. We have it. Are you going to be, running marathons when you're 65? Maybe, maybe not. But hey, we've locked in your health rating now. We've gotten the underwriting done while you're young and healthy. Let's focus on that. These are just some examples on these sample clients of ways to kind of ask some more questions, get a little more in depth with the client to build that value with them on why you'd want to present a more permanent product. These are just two examples of permanent products for that same 500K. Once again, we're looking at about a 500 yearly premium on term. So what is a client getting for a $3,500 yearly premium on a permanent IUL product? Well, at age 55, they put in $70,000 total. They have $90,000 in cash value. They have a difference of $20,000. Great, not amazing, but they've had more than they pay in. At 65, now they're at retirement age. They've almost doubled, maybe about 85% towards that doubling. That money that they put in, this money, this product does allow them to grow that nest egg while still covering their main need of protection. And once again, I'll reiterate with the protection-based IULs, the main focus for the client should be that protection need. We're switching to a protection IUL for all the other benefits that an IUL has for them. And that's really going to be the main focus, is that pivot to, okay, I understand you want protection. Let's now talk about the other things that you can get alongside the protection, and then build that value. Ask those questions. Hey, what do you want to do as a job when you're 80? Well, I don't want to work as 80. Well, great. Take a look at this. Look, you're going to have some cash value later. Is it going to be knocking it out of the park? No, but you're going to pay during your income gaining years, and you'll have some money to take out later on. You'll have some money for a kid's retirement party, your kids going to college, planning a wedding. All the things that cash value IUL will have, you'll have here with that protection IUL as well, plus that top line protection. Yes, is it more than a term? Sure, but I would argue that that F-150 all decked out, or that BMW 5 Series is a lot more than a Toyota Corolla, and that's only a car that they're going to have for the next 5 years. So it's really about assigning those values to the product and what it is that they're looking for. So you're going to ask, hey, how do we do that? How do I get clients to talk to me about these types of sales? So it's going to be a little bit of a penny pitch. We have sales kits on our website. These are some examples that we have right on our website for you to use of, things you can put on a social media posting of questions to ask to get someone to, click through. With that as well, we have lots of these pre-done images that you're able to use on, top one, you insure your car and your health, but not your loved one. Let's get life insurance. Put that with one of those blurbs. This is how you're going to help generate those leads to you, through social media posting. All this is on our Penny website. Once again, reach out to one of the brokerage managers if you want some additional questions on this. But ultimately, you want to move yourself from the transactional nature of a term sale into that more consultative nature of, the IUL sale, and the marketing and stuff that you do behind it, the marketing that we have that we can, give to you, helps you phrase it in a way that when they're looking at the insurance, that they already have, that little thing in the back of the head of like, okay, well, I need this protection for something. And that mainline protection of, paying for their mortgage and something if they didn't, come back from work tomorrow. It's going to be that top line focus, but really it's our job to then talk about those next levels, the second and third level down, that will move somebody from term into protection-based IUL. I'll end with one final thing. Next week, we actually have one of the carriers coming in for this spot and actually talking through their protection-based product. It's going to be specific to just their product. I'm talking more in general terms, but if you really are keen on this idea and want to learn about a specific product and how to get it through underwriting, the things to do, a little more in depth on, some of the features and differences, I would, express everyone to join next week for that. So with that, is there any questions? Like I said, I wanted to keep this brief, concise, but I hope that there are some questions and we can dig in a little more with anything that anyone may have.
Yep, we have a few questions that came in.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
So one is, are there any riders that enhance PIUL, like long-term care, chronic illness, or disability riders?
So most of the products will have some type of chronic illness rider that you'll be able to have. That is going to be state specific, California being the one that may have some issues with that, California, New York. But most of these are going to have additional riders that you can add to it. That's going to depend on the product, but as a general thing, almost any rider that you can apply to a normal, cash value accumulation focused IUL are going to have the same product suite to this, with some additions, like I said, that return a premium function that you'll have on this that you may not necessarily have on an accumulation IUL. So yes, there'll be a lot of riders to choose from. That'll be more specific on carriers. So if you have questions about a specific client and a specific rider, definitely reach out to us and we can go through that particular scenario and explain all the riders that would be available with that specific product.
We have another one. Are there any recent regulatory changes impacting PIUL?
There is none that I know of. One of the main differences between a protection IUL and the cash value IUL is that the protection part of it comes first versus accumulation. So it's not going to have as much flux as maybe an accumulation on any regulatory changes or any caps and participation changes, because the main portion of it is going to be that protection. So the cost of insurance that you're paying for the protection will be a little higher to get that death benefit. So it's not as impacted with any changes, but I don't know of any changes in the past maybe 6 months to a year that would have affected. I don't know of any upcoming that would affect these types of sales.
And what are the most common objections that agents hear about PIUL?
It's going to be cost, and that's why we spent some time on value. They're going to be like, oh, well, I can get a term and it's $500. It's like, yes, but you could also rent an apartment for half the amount. Why did you choose to buy a house? Why are you choosing to spend more on a car? That's where you have to get into the value questions, because if you're just putting price to price, term is going to look better on I just want $500,000 of coverage, term's going to be the better option on a pure price. That's where you have to bring value. So one of the most common objections you're going to get is, why am I spending more for this? And that's where you have to take their circumstances and assign the value that a protection-based IUL has to their circumstances to allow them to see the value that they are getting in this versus just paying for a term that, hey, if they live past 30 years and they end up retiring, great, they paid for a term that's done nothing for them. Sure, it provided a little bit of protection, but hey, this protection-based IUL has those additional features, but you have to assign value to those additional features, and you can't just say, hey, it has extra things. Why does it have extra things? How does that impact that client? So that's going to be your most common objection, is going to be price, but that's what you want to focus your conversation on, about the value of the product. Because if there's value there, they're not going to worry about the price of the product versus the term, because you've already taken term off the shelf because they understand the value of the extra things that the protection-based IUL has for them.
And it looks like we have another one.
Okay.
So how do you introduce PIUL to older clients who may already have coverage?
So for a older client that may already have coverage, now you're leaning more into the protection portion of it, and the fact that you're going to be able to provide coverage for a longer duration. So I didn't get into this particular thing, but on the guaranteed side of this, the full death benefit was there up to age 90. On a midpoint assumption, we were out well past age 102. So well past life expectancy. So if you're talking to an older client, now the conversation has changed to the protection portion of it and not outliving that term, and especially not outliving that term to the point where it starts going into the annual adjustable rate period, where they get a 15-year term due to their age, and on age year 16, their $3,000 term is now $15,000 and just going up year after year for them. So the conversation changes to locking in, excuse me, both the risk class as well as that protection for a longer duration, while still having the benefits of having that cash value and things under it, so that if they do need money later on down the road to fund something, that the policy has that within it as well. So that's a very good question. Thank you.
Yep, looks like those are all the questions.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, as I said, contact either the brokerage manager that you're working with, or give myself a call if you're not currently working with Penny. We can go through individual clients that you may have, any type of scenarios. And then, like I said, check out our website for some different additional information and those sales kits. It's really a great way that we offer, agents out there of how to generate those organic leads, and start the conversations off right with the client coming in focused on more than just what's the cheapest thing that I can purchase. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. And I thank everybody for joining me today.
Thanks for joining, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.